Hello, everyone. Donna Nelson here, founder of Rooted in Wisdom, a daily dose of Donna. This is episode 28. So, welcome back. We are back on a roll, getting to share with you a little science and soul. So, if this is your first time joining, welcome. So, these episodes are all about sharing a little bit of science and soul as a foundation for you along your journey in wholeness. So, whether you want to up your game in business, have better relationships, make more money, and have more abundance in all areas of your life, improve your mental, physical, emotional well being, or feel more spiritually connected in your journey to wholeness, you need to know how to get there. And that is with a foundation of science and soul. So I will be sharing that with you. And today I'm actually going to be talking about identity. And this subject is really fascinating. So there's a lot of chatter about mindset and subconscious programming and those kinds of things. And what I've come to learn is that our identity is kind of rooted in this school of thought. And so, what would you say your identity is? So, a lot of people would, well, it could be, let's just say, I don't want to say a lot of people, right? So, but your identity might be something that you would describe maybe as your role in your career, right? So, if someone says, well, how would you describe yourself? Or who are you? Or who are you as a person? What is your identity? Many would say, well, I'm a parent, or I'm someone's spouse, or I'm a good friend, or I'm a sister, or something like that, right? Or maybe even a religious affiliation, right? Like maybe you're Christian or you're Muslim. Um, or maybe you would describe your identity as a personality trait, right? Or some of all of these things, right? I'm caring, I'm kind, I'm ambitious, I'm generous, I'm motivated, right? So, or maybe you would describe it more as how you act, right? More coming from things that you do, or that kind of thing, or how others perceive you, right? So often we get in this mode of our identity being purely based on how others perceive us or what others expect from us. So our whole framework of who we are and why we exist is around that. And that can be really dangerous, right? Because if those things go away, then who am I without those things? So that's a topic for another day. So, but to bring it back into identity, in identity is we do what we are, right? And what we are is our identity. So, where does this come from? Where does our identity even get created? So, sometimes we think it's created based on our upbringing, right? Those things that we were exposed to, that environment. And that is really true. But what were those subconscious trainings and beliefs and thoughts and conditionings and patterns that we were exposed to early in our childhood that created our identity? And that is part of the challenge that I see in my work, in working with business leaders that are trying to create more and be more, with my clients in their personal lives, and they get caught in these patterns of relationships or these ways of being that they don't really understand why they can't snap out of those things, or why there's like this mismatch between where I'm at and where I want to go. And I'm feeling this conflict. It's that conflict in between that is the challenge. It's this friction of your, I'll say, your role identity, or those ways of being that is your old self, and then your soul identity, which is that person inside that is craving to be developed, to be released. And part of that inability to release that is, part of it is the not knowing. And the other piece is it's holding on to those old aspects of yourself, that those patterns that you need to actually, well, surrender and let go and replace with these new ways of being and doing, in this new identity that's not really new, it's old, it's in you, but it's those old patterns and those that old identity that is really holding you down. So, or holding you back, or causing you to feel stuck, or not playing full out, right? Like that's how it really is, just how it feels, right? Like you're being held down, like there's this heaviness, and we think it's stress, and we think it's a relationship, or we think it's lack of money, or we think it's the pandemic, or we think it is my anxiety, right? It's we believe we've labeled it with so many things that look like um and I'll say, full disclaimer, I just said this to one of my friends tonight. I'm like, oh, I'm so lazy. I haven't done a Facebook Live in so long. And really, I mean, we know it's not laziness, right? It's just procrastination, right? It's making excuses. It's letting things steal our vision and our soul identity and those aspects of ourselves that are really our best selves, to bring that will bring out that higher level of consciousness within us, to be our best, to be optimal in our energy, to be optimal in our way of being, in who we are and how we show up. And that's really our soul identity. That's that part of us that for many we're fighting against, trying to get it out. So yes, our identity was formed in childhood underneath the guidance of everything that was in our environment that we were exposed to. And as I was saying, so often, this will show up in our plateau in business. Like you hit that level and then you start getting scared about doing something different, right? Taking a risk to grow and to innovate because it's different than the way that model that you've been doing it, which was your old identity. And even attracting relationships that are unfulfilling because they're based on that old self, right? Our old identity. And it's just not aligning with what fulfills us based on our true needs, based on our visions, based on our values of who we are today, right now. So, uh, so going back to, I'm like, okay, what was the next thing I was going to say? What's the point? So we do what we are, and we are our identity. So now what? So how do we change? I think I said it a little bit. If I stick to my notes, it's probably just better off, right? So, or not stick to my notes because they usually screw me up. So we have these goals, we have these aspirations, visions, and we have these good intentions, right? Of being more, doing more, achieving more. However, if those things, as I said, don't align um, with our so if who we are doesn't align with those things, right? It's because it's in our subconscious that our identity is something else. So here's the point. The point is the way we see ourselves at a subconscious level. So meaning oftentimes we're not even aware of our own identities that are keeping us stuck, right? They're that stuff that's in the back there that hasn't come to the forefront. Because once we're aware of it, right? Once it's in the conscious, then we can change it. And that's what we need to do. How do we move these things that are unconscious because of their subconscious programming? How do we bring them to our consciousness, right? And that's what we need to do to change our identity at the subconscious. We need to get clear on our values, identify what our visions are, what our needs, right? What fills our soul, and then release those old identities and replace them with your soul identity. And that takes conscious beliefs, it takes changing our habits, right? And creating those new patterns, not creating, doing those new patterns that replace those old patterns under that former, those unconscious, subconscious patternings, right? And beliefs and identities. So that's how you can create a new identity. And that's why often we get stuck in this unfulfilled life because of having this, we do what we are. And if you want to have something different, be something different, feel something freaking different, then we have to create a new identity. And we do that through upheavaling those subconscious programs that have been embedded in us and create new ones. That is today's Rooted in Wisdom, based in science and soul, straight from Donna Nelson. Have a good night, everyone.